What is going on, guys? Gaston right here, and today I have my big friend, the microphone, the bigger microphone, because we're trying to improve the sound quality of the channel. Some of you made a couple of comments, and I'm always willing to improve, so I got this little guy right here. Let me know if you like the quality. We moved actually to a brand new studio, and we're soundproofing the room. It's gonna take us some time. Anyway, let me know what you think about the mic. But today we're going to be talking about the July announcement that Sony is about to release. And we have some piece of information thanks to the guy at Sony Alpha Rumors that talks that Sony is going to host an internal press release where they're going to be inviting the media. And what happened in this press release is they talk about the qualities of the new products, and also the media gets to play with the product. A lot of them, they actually take them with them for a few weeks, write vlogs, write reviews, and then they hype it up on social media, on magazines, and so on. So we're not actually one of those lucky ones. But in this video, we're going to talk about the potential products that are going to be covered in this July announcement coming up. So the first piece of information that we know thanks to the guys at Sony Alpha Rumor is that Sony indeed is going to be releasing or announcing two cameras. And the first camera is going to be a full frame camera, a high-end camera. And this one in particular has been registered already in Japan. There's also a code that you can check right here. And the second camera, the entry-level camera, maybe an RX type of camera or an E-mount camera. But this one has been registered in China. So Japan, higher quality end, and low-end China. Familiar, right? Now, the third piece of information that we know is that Sony has entered in their website a brand new code belonging to a lens, and it spells SEL1224GM, which stands for 12 to 24 G Master. And we have also covered in one video that Sony may be releasing in this announcement the 12 to 24 f2.8 lens, a great lens that Sony actually is missing in the lineup, and I'm actually really excited about that lens in particular. All right, so we're talking about a high megapixel camera, and the rumors and everything leads to think that we are talking about the A7S III, a camera that has been long due and finally is going to see the light. Now, this is what everyone is leaking. This is what we actually are thinking, but stop for a moment and really think about what's going on with Canon. Canon has the R5, a camera that is actually rumored to have 45 megapixel 8K recording, internal RAW, 10-bit, the whole 9 yard, and also the R6, which also packs a bunch of great features with a 20 megapixel sensor, 4K 60, Full HD 120. Now, how is the Sony A7S III, a camera that in the prior version, actually the current version, the version 2 actually has a 12 megapixel sensor. Chances are that Sony is not going to jump from 12 to 45 megapixel right away. I just don't see that happening. And if the camera is going to have 12 or 16 megapixel, can you achieve 8K video recording, raw, internal, 10-bit? I don't think so. Probably there's going to have to be some sort of oversample there, and you wouldn't have raw 8K video recording. So if the A7S III is the camera that they're going to be releasing, I would like to see how Sony is thinking about competing with Canon, because definitely we're talking about different monsters here. Now, let's talk about some of the specs that have been leaked about this camera, but be prepared to be underwhelmed, because this camera is going to have a sensor that is going to be between the 12 megapixel and 16 megapixel. The current version, the Mark II version, actually has a 12 megapixel sensor, and there have been some rumors that this camera may step it up to 16 megapixel sensor. Now, keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about that. Now, the second piece of information is that the camera is going to be able to do 4K video recording up to 120 frames per second, utilizing the 422 10-bit codec. It's going to do an internal, and it's going to also have the greatest and latest autofocus performance from the A9 II. Now, there's nothing new here that we haven't heard already from other camera manufacturers. So remember, the R5 is going to be able to do 8K internal RAW 10-bit 422, where this camera actually caps at 120 frames per second. And the R5 also is going to do 120 frames per second in 4K. It will be really interesting to know how this announcement really pans out in the industry, knowing that at the same month, two giants are going to be releasing two cameras. One camera really blowing everyone out of the waters already with the specs, and the other camera kind of like being the camera that everyone has been waiting and kind of like they don't even want to hear anymore. So hopefully they have something else under their sleeve, but everything leads that the A7S III and 4K 120 is basically what we're going to see from this camera coming up. Now let's talk about the entry-level camera that is going to be announced as well in the July announcement. We're talking about a new full-frame camera, Sony's first, meaning it's going to be a brand new line of camera, no reiteration of any of the existing models. Now the other piece of information that we know is that this camera is going to be under $1,000. And this actually reminds me to a camera that was launched 2 years ago by Canon called the Canon R5, a camera that has a 20 megapixel sensor, can film 4K video recording, but at 420. Now, if this is what Sony actually has prepared for this announcement, my friends, be prepared to be underwhelmed with the new Sony announcement. And I'm a Sony shooter. I have a lot of Sony glass, but I'm not really liking the leaks that I'm hearing already. So maybe they've been so busy with the PlayStation 5, they actually lost a lot of the focus, but Canon seems to be the one innovating in this July announcement. But once again, we would have to really see what comes up, because as of right now, these are all rumors. And let's talk about this lens that we mentioned before. I got good news and I got bad news for you guys. So the rumor talks about 12 to 24 millimeter f2.8. Now this is a great focal length. I love shooting with a lens, and I actually own the f4 version of that lens, and I always wish that I had a little bit more of a shallow depth of field in my lens, like a 2.8 right now. The sad part is that in order for you to get that shallower depth of field and more lights and wider aperture, you're gonna have to shell out $3,000.
What?
So I don't know who is planning to spend $3,000 on a 12 to 24 millimeter f2.8. Definitely, I won't spend that kind of cash, and I may have to keep enjoying the f4 version of the lens. Now, the other thing that we can do is actually wait for Tamron or Sigma to release that version, maybe for $1,000. So we have two big announcements in July. In one side, we have Canon ready to destroy it with the R5 with specs never heard before. The R6 also packing a bunch of features. And on the other side, we have Sony releasing a camera that is about 100 years old, and releasing another camera that is an entry level of a camera that Canon actually created 2 years ago. And the last piece of information, a very overpriced 12 to 24 millimeter lens. So this is what we have for today, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm not excited about Sony announcement lately, and I used to get really pumped about him, but I would like to know what you think. Who's gonna kick butts in July? Is it gonna be Canon? Is it gonna be Sony? Drop your comments down below. I'm pissed off. I'm out of here. Bye.